Whew. What's up, guys? Here we go again. Welcome to another video. In today's video, we're going to talk about booking freight in this market, and it's been tough. Been doing it the last since the market went to crap. But in this industry, you've always got to stay learning, because the moment you think you know it all, life's going to show up and show out and show you didn't know it all. But before we get to that, let me give you a little story based on how I got to where I go in booking trucks. And usually this kind of information is found in my load board videos, but I decided to make a dedicated video and share with you guys how I book a truck whenever I'm out trucking, and how I book my other truck with Stoney's out trucking. And on average, Stoney's been doing $5,000 to $7,000 in gross revenue per week when he's running. So it's not too shabby. It's decent money in this market. But how I got here and how I book how I book a truck and how I run loads and how I dispatch it, let's take you back to 2013 is when I became an owner operator. And for the next 3.5 years, I was dedicated, East Coast, West Coast, mainly Livermore, California, and the Reno down to the Bay Area. And usually I came back to Florida or Georgia, a lot of times even Sterling, Virginia. But I was primarily, hey, focus on me, sucker, not my babies back there. Gonna get my video flagged. But so that's what I ran primarily, or majority, say 90% of the time. And when I formed my authority in 2017, I was like, I'm gonna do what I'm doing, and I fell. No, let's back it up. When I formed my authority, my very first load is a trick that most truckers fall for, and I advise against it for years now. My very first load under my own authority, I seen a load going to, I think it's Thermopolis. Actually, it's north of Thermopolis, Wyoming. And at the time, now this is 2018 or 17, and the load was like $3,000. I was like, holy balls, that's good money. And it ain't but like, 22,000 miles. I can't remember exactly. But at the time, it was good money. And for that market, it was good money. So, and it picked up right here in my hometown, Ringgold, Georgia. And I hauled ass, got the load up there. And then I realized there's nothing up here. So I deadheaded all the way down to Casper, looked for a load. I found a couple loads, but I had a new authority, so I couldn't get them. And I ended up deadheading all the way over to Salt Lake City. And from Salt Lake City, I didn't get a good rate coming out. There's freight over there, but it wasn't the stuff that you really want to pick up. So what that did is taught me a lesson. Don't fall for those loads that look very good on the front side, because trucking and dispatching and running the trucking business, and you got to look at it like playing pool or even playing golf. And what I mean by that is you got to set up. You got to always think about your next move. So if you pull a load and you set up to a market that's got good loads available, then you're playing with an advantage. So what that did is taught me, don't fall for those really good loads that's going into the middle of nowhere. And I was talking to a good buddy of mine, Danny. He was a Landstar BCO, and in conversation one day was just talking, and he said, man, before I leave the house, I get on the Landstar load board and I search nationwide, and I put the rate per mile up to the highest, and I see where the freight is. I said, wait, what are you talking about? Explain that to me. And he explained it to me. There's my light. Oh, sucker. He explained it to me, and that evolved into what I do, and then what evolved into the load boards. And I start every one of them out the same way. Before I leave the house, I get on the load board. Instead of doing nationwide, I condense it down to freight hubs, as I call them, freight markets. Say the Atlanta market, the Dallas, Houston market, Cincinnati, Columbus, Ohio, Pittsburgh. Somebody upstairs, or my dog's walking around. I go around the different freight hubs and find out where the freight is. Because if you see a good juicy load going in, say, Lubbock, Texas, when you get there, you got a deadhead. How many miles to get back into the freight? So you get a good rate going in. Hey, track my eyes, sucker. See that? You get a good rate going in, but in return, you don't get a great rate coming out. and you eat up a lot of profits doing that. So when you see those loads going to Denver, they might look really enticing going in, but I always think about it, there's not a lot of good quality freight in Denver, and a lot of times you're going to come back out of that market for, say, $1 a mile. I mean, you might do better, I might be wrong there, I'm just saying from my experience, they're not that great. Same with Florida. Now, I do run Florida quite a bit. Usually when I'm coming home, I run a Florida load, and then I just deadhead back to, that sucker's getting on my nerves. Quit autofocusing, stay on my eyes. Yeah, if I've been out for a week or two and I'm coming home, I usually get a load going to Florida because they pay really great, and then I'll spend $200-300 and deadhead back up to North Georgia and come home. It usually finishes out a week, carry you through the weekend. It just makes sense. That's usually what I do. But when you're booking your truck, get on the market. I got to figure this out. I got to figure that out. Hey, can you see those grays in there? Somebody said something in my last video about, just for men. No. It's actually in the video it looks a lot darker than it is. There's a lot of grays in there, guys. Just zoom in on that right here. Zoom in on it. You're going to see it. But when you're booking your truck, just remember this: your next load is always your most important load. Look in the good markets. The Midwest is always good. Dallas is usually good for a lot of freight. Not the great rates, but they usually got a high volume of freight. If you run East Coast, West Coast, whatever market you run, just search the different cities, the different states in that area, and whoever's got the highest freight volumes shows you when you get to that area and you unload, you're going to do and fare way better on getting another load quick and getting back out. As I say, if you ain't turning, you ain't earning. And in this industry of trucking, you've got to become a strategic logistics specialist of time management. And the quicker you can, once you offload, the quicker you can get a load back on your trailer and rolling. By the end of the week, you're just going to make a lot more money. And a lot of people will sit. Here's something else that I've learned. A lot of people will sit if they say, I'm not turning anything for less than $2.50 a mile. That's all good, but sometimes it makes sense to grab a load that pays a little less to get you out of that market. And what I mean by that is this: if you deliver at 7 o'clock in the morning and you're empty, you're ready to go, you're on the load boards and you're looking for a load and you can't find nothing under $2.50 a mile, and you end up sitting to the next day, that load might pick up at 10 o'clock in the morning, it might pick up 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, think about all that time wasted from today till tomorrow, all on a load that you can't run less than $2.50 a mile, but there's loads on there for, say, $2 a mile. Time wasted is time you'll never get back, and if you fall for that, you're going to miss out on a weekly basis and monthly basis a lot of failed loads because you didn't want to turn for no less than $2.50 a mile. Now, I'm given that being said, I'm not saying haul cheap freight. What I'm saying is, if you're in a market and you've got a minimum of $2.50 a mile, but you're in a market and the best rate per mile on those lane averages is $2 a mile, don't be stubborn. Hey, motion light, there we go. Don't be stubborn. Grab you a load and get out of that market. Now, if you go into a market and the average load is $3.50 a mile, yeah, be stubborn and don't haul less than that right there. That's why I preach about load boards. You got to have the tools to see wherever you're at. You can get in there and see all the data and see what kind of lane rate averages all these lanes are paying and averaging. So if you get into it, like I said, you go into a market and you don't haul for less than $3 a mile, $2.50 a mile, and you're in a market that averages $2 a mile, don't be stubborn, because that time wasted is another load that will never be on the books. And you do that once or twice a week, then you're missing out on 1 or 2, maybe possibly 3 loads per week. And at the end of the day, some years ago I done some videos on how much money I could how much money I could do in a week. And I done it for 3 consecutive weeks. I went out and I was back, say, 7-8 days, maybe 9 days on one of them, and I made, I don't know, upwards of $8,000. Now this is back in 2018. And then I came home for a couple days and I said, let's see if I can beat that. And I went out and I beat it by a couple $100. I came back home for a couple days and I said, I think I can beat it again. And I came back out and I done over $9,000 for the duration of that week. I think that one stretched out to 8 days. I'm not sure. You can go down through the archives, find those videos. I documented all 3 weeks of running and put it and showed you guys what I was doing. And let me tell you what, I stayed in the Southeast. I didn't get out of the Southeast. And some of those loads was only $1.50 a mile, but on the average for the week, it was over $2 a mile. And I stayed busy, man. I was hustling and I was humping it. But at the end of the week, if you haul a cheap paying load, 1 load a week, by the weekly average, it's going to burn, you know, it's not going to be the same. You got to look at a weekly average of you running, or a monthly average. Some people do a yearly average. All I'm saying is, don't get into a market and be stubborn and sit around waiting on a load. Because I said this a long time ago, sitting around waiting on a $2.50 load is more costly than you, how'd I say that? I mean, it's been a long time. Waiting on a $2.50 load will cost you more money waiting for tomorrow versus taking $1.50 today to get you back into a good market. And a lot of people, it's controversial. A lot of people are going to say, oh, you're an idiot. But I'm still in business and I'm doing something right. So guys, I'm sure there's more to that. This video is just shot off the hip, off the cusp. And I just wanted to make a dedicated video how I book freight, keep your truck in a hot market. And how you do that is get on load boards and search all the different freight hubs around the nation and find out what cities has the highest freight volumes, say given 150 miles. Yeah, that's how I do it. Anyway, guys, if you're still hanging in there, you rock. Give me a big old thumbs up if you like this video. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. I put videos out on a regular, all things trucking. To the next video. See you, bye. Let's see, will it? Oh yeah, if you're looking at the top, that's my little TM22. Underneath that's my little 15, that's my spray baby. It's a fun gun. And then under that one is my 308. I built that. I built the bottom too, and the bottom one I built it for hunting, but that's a heavy gun. That's a heavy gun, so I'm not going to use that. I'm probably going to see if I can get my hands on a 15 to 20-year-old Ruger, nickel plated or stainless 30-06, possibly another 308. I love 308. Anyway, guys, see you, bye.